Even gangs, a lot of these kids, you know, and I hate like some of these reporters, what do we do? I mean, like people, recidivism.
Yeah.
What do we do? They come out, they commit another crime. You don't do that's your problem, and that's why.
Yeah.
They come out, you're a convicted felon, you can't buy a gun, you can't vote, you can't be a doctor, you can't be a lawyer, you can't be a college professor. I mean, how many doors do you want to close in their face? And some of them are not idiots. Maybe they made 10, 15,000 a week dealing drugs or anything else. So you want this guy to come out, or woman, and you want to go flip hamburgers for $10, $12 an hour.
Right.
And then you want to ask me what's going on with the recidivism rate? There's no opportunities. You're closing doors in their face.
I've never had a time in my professional life where Americans have been more concerned about their own self-protection.
And now for the final segment of my interview with Sammy the Bull Gravano. This again, you know, it took a long time to set this up, back and forth, and I was actually very surprised how open he was. I mean, he is somebody that still, you know, he should be looking over his shoulder, you know, and he says that very freely. And what's interesting is he's told his family, should one day he get killed by, you know, somebody in the Cosa Nostra, somebody in, you know, in the mafia, not to, there's no retribution. There's nothing to do. These guys are just, he said literally to me, he goes, they're just doing their job. He goes, that's what they should, you know, they should do. I understand that. That's part of the lifestyle. But you can see that, you know, he's doing podcasts, he's sharing information, he's telling stories about the mob. He's wildly popular. A lot of this is there. A lot of people are very upset that guys like this are doing it. Again, I think you all know, you know, if you've followed me long enough, you understand that I like difficult people. I get the best information from difficult people. You know, people that maybe are criminal in nature. I found that oftentimes they have the most straightforward knowledge on what to really pay attention to when it comes to your self-protection. And that's not why they do it, but the methods and the principles that they use oftentimes are absolutely spot on. So we're going to take off where we left off, where he was talking about building the organization, how you create loyalty, how you use fear, and then, you know, how you run the city. And you know, we'll go through that, and then we ended up end the interview, which I'll make my final comments on. But I want you to enjoy the final segment with Sammy the Bull.
Yeah, well, I thought it was interesting, the struggles you had early on in school with the dyslexia, and the fact that there was no real help back then for kids that had dyslexia, and that I've met so many people throughout life, you know, in the military and everything, dyslexic kids, they go to the top. It's just amazing. I mean, there's something about having to overcome that it just breeds a different type of individual at times and stuff.
Right.
And a command. I've just met so many dynamic individuals that have that background with it, but it also scars them too. It's one of the things they remember growing up, and they remember being told they're stupid.
Oh, I was called stupid so many times. I didn't know what it was coming and going, and embarrassed and stuff, and humiliated.
Yeah.
Class laughing at me, like the little girls, and I love the little girls, and they're laughing. The guys are making jokes. Making joke? 3 o'clock when I get out of this fucking class, I'll make sure that you remember this joke.
Right.
So, and that you know, back then they had no idea what it was.
Right.
And it really wrecked I never passed the 8th grade.
Yeah.
I got an 8th grade education, but it's like somebody who's going deaf. It seems like they see better.
Yeah.
Or they'll lose their eyesight, they hear better. So I think dyslexia brought in different things. I could talk to somebody and pick up all kinds of shit.
Right.
I could see something on television and I'm right there. I could hear something, I'm right there. Give me that book to read, I'm dead.
Right.
I told a psychologist one time, they were talking to me about it. I got a paper, it was just a paragraph. And I said, here, read that. And It was a woman. She said, I read it. What about it? And I got a blank piece of paper, and I got a pencil, and I scribbled. And I pushed it over, and I said, read that. She said, scribble. Read what? I said, that, what you just read, that looks like this piece of paper.
To you.
To me.
Yeah.
So you can't read my piece of paper. I can't read that. It looks the same to me.
And what's interesting, though, you're able to run pretty sophisticated organizations and you know, do that without any of that, you know, with an 8th grade education, you know, that you came through. That's what I think is just so interesting is I tell people, especially when it comes to their own self-protection, I go, hey, listen, some of the best information is going to come from, you know, some of the hardest parts of society, you know, like you're going to learn these lessons, but they speak truth. And I mean, a lot of what you said today just reinforces what I've always said. Violence alone isn't going to do it. You know, violence, it's going to get you that initial that you need, that fear that you need. But then you've got to, you know, in order to be successful, you've got to understand human nature. And I try to tell people all the time, they come when they want for self-protection. They think it's all about the punching and the kicking. And I go, you know, it's about 10%. Because if it gets down to that, yeah, I'm going to show you all that. But really, what you got to learn is how do you interact with other humans, man? How can you minimize the chance of violence ever coming in your life? You know, how can you see things coming ahead of time, you know, way ahead of time? The only way you're going to do that is you have to understand, you have to like humans. You have to actually learn about them and how they go. And it's funny, that was a theme when I was listening to a lot of your interviews, that was the one thing that interested me, because you would tell a story, and each one of those stories, from my perspective, was, oh, he understands human nature. He understands where he's going in. Yes, he's doing it for, you know, criminal purposes over here, or he's doing it for that, but it's sophisticated, you know? I mean, because that's, you know, like Sun Tzu. Sun Tzu said the ultimate victory is to, you know, basically, I paraphrase him, is to win the war without ever firing a shot. You know, and I think that's a lot of what Cosa Nostra tried to do once they went into an area. You know, they wanted to make it so that it was running well, everything was going on, and it wasn't too much. You know,
we you know how I used to explain it. All the money, it's a pie, and everybody eats out of this pie. Legitimate people, men, women, different races, everybody eats out of this pie. We want to get a little slice of that pie. And we could get that little slice and spread it around with each other, and we good. Seems like politicians and other people, they want to take the whole fucking pie, and nobody can eat. The mafia doesn't do that. And we look out, I'll give you an example, there was a garbage strike. I was up by Paul Castellano's house, the boss. I was already an acting captain. And he tells Tommy Bellotti, go get Jimmy Brown. He was the head of the Garbage Association. So they go get him. We're sitting at the table and talking, and Jimmy Brown comes in. And he said, Jimmy, look, I got the television on. Look at this news. He said, yeah, we got this. There's a strike, and we're going to win the strike and stuff. And Paul Castellano, I'll never forget this. He said, look, there's garbage in front of schools, old age homes, hospitals. Get them to pick that fucking garbage up. You'll win the strike. What are we, fucking animals for money? Go pick that shit up.
That's great.
And Jimmy left. And they did. They backed off of the hospitals, you know, not picking it up. They made them pick it up in hospitals, old age homes, stuff like that. And to me, it was a beautiful lesson. Here's a boss. He loves money, extremely wealthy, but he wanted to win the strike and win their points and everything, but he didn't want to do that to the people. He cared about the people who have no power to stop the strike and have to live with all this garbage all over the fucking place. It bothered him.
So probably one of the last questions I have actually is on that with Castellano. it seems. Have you seen? I mean, he's a perfect example of it. But you start out in an organization. It's a criminal organization. You have to run it correctly. You have to make sure you have that underlying fear behind it, and you run your business correctly. But then it seemed, and again, you're the person that knows this, but it seems from everything that I've read that he just lost interest in the original part of the business, and he was just very, very focused on the business side of things. Were leaders like they'd go either side? You'd have guys probably that were too violent or too aggressive in some areas, and then other guys that would go far to the other side and not take care of things down the line and stuff. How do you balance that? Like, how did you guys balance
Well,
that?
you have to balance that. See, Carlo Gambino balanced that one of the best. You have to be both, or you have to understand there's both type of people. There's two forms of gangsters. One's a racketeer, smart, he's business-minded, he's a tremendous money maker, he's a racketeer. There's a gangster who's more thuggerish, more of a thug, kill you, he's more dangerous. They're two different things. And I'm going to give you another story with Castellano. One day he said, that's what we have, a racketeer and a gangster. Very rare is someone both, a racketeer and a gangster.
Right.
He said, we're fortunate, we have one. And he pointed on the table to me. He says, Sammy the Bull. He's both a gangster and a racketeer. But let me get back to the thing is that Castellano was a racketeer, was a brilliant business guy and very smart. I mean, he gave orders to kill people, so he's dangerous. Right. I mean, but that's really where he focused. Making money with other families, he would do things and swap money. The Bread Association, he gave it to the Colombo family to have good relationships, plus they were doing money things.
Right.
So we resented that. Why would you give the Colombo family that association? This guy here, bro, he did work for us, every fucking thing he's that broke. Why don't you let him run the fucking association? He's not stupid. He could run it and make the money, but he started thinking strictly for himself, his own pocket, and too much of being a racketeer. I was extremely close with Frankie the Chico. There's a lot of stories about it. And he was more of a thug and a gangster. Gambled a lot. I was powerful with the construction. I got a guy and I was opening up a container business when they bring the containers and they take away the construction debris. So I had told Frankie, I said, bro, I'm going to put this together. The guy who's running is a good guy. My end, what I'm going to get 50%. I'm going to cut it up 3 ways. The boss a third, you a third, and me a third. And you have some power in construction. We'll help this company grow. We'll make a few dollars. Oh, thank you, Sammy. I appreciate that. All right. Then I went to Paul and told him, I got this guy and I'm going to do it and I'm going to cut it up 3 ways, Paul. Well, no. You, of course, me, and Frankie the Chico. He said, no, Sammy, you got a good idea. It's a great idea. He said, but Frankie's a thug, straight up thug. We'll do it, me and you, 50-50. I couldn't believe my ears. I'm bringing you a third. You have nothing to do with this fucking business. We wasn't happy with that. So I said, oh, okay, we'll do it. So I went back and I told the guy, I said, no, listen, I'm not going to go into that business. I had second thoughts. I don't want to do it. And I went to Frankie and I told Frankie, I said, listen, this happened. I'm not going to do the thing. I'm just not going to do it no more. He said, no, do it. That's how he is, bro. Don't worry about it. I got a couple things going. Don't worry about it. But that gives you an example of how he lost touch with the reality of the street.
Right.
Frankie's a fucking tough guy. Yeah. He's not a hill. He's a mountain of a man. What the fuck do you care if he's got a third and I got a third? It's not even coming out of your pocket. I brought it. Yeah. It's coming out of my pocket. I'm splitting it up. I must be banging this fucking microphone, right? I was banging my chest. I said, I must be banging this microphone. You'll hear boom, 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 boom. So anyway, and that's what I think his downfall was.
Yeah.
And because I thought he was the best thing since sliced bread when I met him and I got made under him. I thought he was fair. I thought everything was great. And he was very, very smart. But there's gangsters in the life. I'll give you another, let me give you this one because you're going to love this. We're in the house, a whole bunch of us. Roy DeMeo. And Roy DeMeo, the guy who became a serial killer, real tough bastard.
Yeah.
And Paul is talking to us. And he says, you know who the real tough guys are? Every guy on that table is a stone cold killer.
Right.
Yeah, who's the tough guys? He said the cops. They get called on a domestic violence, they go run in the house and do this and do that. Not true. But you're a boss, and you're talking to a whole table full of fucking killers who are in the mafia. We don't want to hear how tough a cop is or whatever. We don't want to hear that shit. I'm sure a bunch of cops don't want to hear. You want to know who, the best cop in the world? Exactly. Sammy the Bull. They're not going to want to hear that shit.
Right.
So anyway, we get up, and we're leaving. And Paul's right behind the whole pack of us, and we're going towards his door. Roy DeMeo says, pretty loud, clearly, next time he wants somebody dead, he should go call a cop. When we left, yeah. So that's the point of him lost touch of reality. I mean, these are the guys who got sitting at the table. That's a perfect answer. I mean, he should have never said it that loud. But I guess what Paul was not a gangster, what was he going to say?
So a guy like DeMeo, like when do you finally realize you go, okay, this guy is uncontrollable, or he's going to be a real problem for us? Like, what does it
Roy DeMeo was a very smart guy too. He was selling cars, having cars robbed, putting them in containers and selling them, high-end cars, shipping them to Kuwait. They were buying them right off they got off the ship. A Mercedes, they'd take 10,000 off, they would sell it right in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
No paperwork, no changing. He had a great scheme. Louis Melito was with me and Tato, and I was an acting captain. I met Roy DeMeo's captain, and I wanted to know about the scam and see if we can do it as well, if it didn't bother him, and he could maybe hook us up with his connections and stuff. So we went to a meeting. It was in a Greek diner. The guys knew me there. I said, listen, I'm going to meet with a couple of people. Give me a table somewhere. Sammy, I got a back room. There's a bunch of senior citizens. I could put you at a table over there. It's cool. All right, that's good. So we go back there. 30, 40 senior citizens, 60, 70, 80, maybe even 90, some of them, all old people. So we're having this conversation about the cars, and I see he's drifted away. He's not even paying attention. Nino's talking, Louis talking, and I see he drifted away. I said, what's up, bro? And this is, it's boring, these conversations. You probably, no, Sammy, it's I hear it. You know what I'm thinking? Look at these people. Yeah? He says, if I had 2 9mm, I could kill all of them before they even know what the fuck was going on. I said, probably half of them would drop dead as soon as you start shooting, really.
Yeah.
They're so old. But who the fuck thinks of this?
Yeah.
So I said, all right, listen, Louis, we got to go. I got another meeting. Me and Nino, we'll hook together at another time. I shake his hand. Roy, I'll see you, this and that and the other thing. Louis gets up. I said, did you hear what he said to me? About killing the people? The old people? Yeah. Yeah. Bro, he lost it. He's sick. We got to pay attention to this guy. We go to meetings, everything we do with him. Who sits there fascinating and thinking about killing 40 fucking senior citizens for no fucking reason at all?
Right.
Bro, this guy is gone. I think he's completely gone. Something happened in his brain. We got to be very careful when we do business with him, when we deal with him. Really, we want to watch our stuff. Don't just take that conversation like, yeah, that was great. No. Normal people don't think like that, bro.
Right.
I may be a killer, but I'm still normal.
Right.
Normal. I didn't cross that fucking line,
right.
Thank God. But, so And eventually people knew what he was. He did 1 million stories, and they killed him.
Yeah.
We killed him. Not me personally, but our family killed him.
Right.
That's what you do with him. There's no curing him. There's no nothing. Same thing with a pedophile or a serial killer. But they lost it. And there's one thing, you know, they need a meeting with God, and I'm going to make the arrangements.
No, there's really no ifs, ands, or buts with that, man.
Yeah. You got to go. It's time to go.
What do you think? What do you think about the current?
Where the fuck do you get gloves with these fucking hands?
I know.
Look at the size of your hand is bigger than my foot.
I know. Cracks me up.
This guy, forget about it.
Where do you see like the current crop of criminals coming up as far as these kids that you're seeing in gangs? Not Cosa Nostra. Cosa Nostra, you said, is getting a lot smarter in how they're doing things. The current group.
Yes, they are.
But you know what my people are worried about. They're seeing like what happened in the the last year and a half. This riots, people just getting in there, gang members. You know, you got MS-13. You got some really brutal people out there that are hitting legit citizens. It doesn't look like there's going to be a response from government anytime soon that's going to take care of this. I've never had so many inquiries for people. People want to buy guns. They want to do everything. People that never thought of doing stuff like this before. You know, there's definitely a change, but you kind of saw the mentality of these kids that are in there, that are coming in from these gangs and stuff like that. And I'm sure you talked about it. It seems like it's very different from the crop of criminals that came up under your time.
Absolutely. And even when I came up, I mean, there was a lot of really rough people. But I'm not afraid of these kids. And none of them. And then I'm not just saying I'm not afraid of them to talk like a tough guy. What I'm afraid of is the politicians that are allowing that to happen. Right. The people who don't want to back cops. The people that are making laws that let them out like a revolving door. Yeah. I can't stop them. Maybe you alone can't stop them. Politicians and laws and people we put in office could stop it. Yeah. If we can't stop them, if we can't control the people we put in or get them the fuck out because we're a Democrat or a Republican or a conservative or a liberal, we still have, that's all bullshit. White, black, Spanish, Asian. The whole country as a country, we're having this problem, and I'm not afraid of them. You shouldn't be afraid of them. Some of them have tough times. Maybe they could be talked to or taught or changed. But if they allow this to happen, I'm afraid of them. Yeah. Them. I'm deathly afraid of them. Not for me personally, but for my daughter, my grandchildren. I'm terrified. You're allowing this. I can't go around shooting them all. You can't. You can't stop it. I can't stop it. You could. That's why we put you there. Yeah. And if you're not going to do that, and we're not going to change that environment, our kids and our grandchildren are, I don't know, the way it looks now, they're in for a tough, tough time.
Yeah, there's a vacuum. There's definitely going to be a vacuum filled. You're going to see vigilantes. I'm sure you're going to see more of that type of behavior.
Absolutely.
The stuff that I'm seeing right now, just amongst the communities that I know, it's crazy. And like I said, there seems to be a fear to just step in and just somebody saying, "Hey, this is right. This is wrong." You know, we want you to have your freedoms, but we're not going to tolerate this. And that was what was interesting. You know, I found sometimes criminal organizations actually have better, I don't even know if code of ethics is the right way of saying it.
Control.
But control.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, if you have somebody go off the rails like Roy did, you're going to take care of that problem.
Right.
And stuff. I don't see any of that happening at the government level.
No, and they're the biggest problem of it. I mean, even gangs, a lot of these kids, You know, and I hate like some of these reporters. Oh, what do we do? I mean, like people, recidivism.
Yeah.
What do we do? They come out, they commit another crime. You don't do shit. That's your problem, and that's why.
Yeah.
They come out, you're a convicted felon, you can't buy a gun, you can't vote, you can't be a doctor, you can't be a lawyer, you can't be a college professor. I mean, how many doors do you want to close in their face? And some of them are not idiots. Maybe they made 10, 15,000 a week dealing drugs or anything else. So you want this guy to come out, or woman, and you want to go flip hamburgers for $10, $12 an hour.
Right.
And then you want to ask me what's going on with the recidivism rate? There's no opportunities. You're closing doors in their face.
Yeah.
So forget about getting rid of cops. Keep that going, but put money into things that you can reform people, starting when they're in the prisons. They don't reform. They got programs that look good, sound good. They said, Sammy, go to this class. It's an educational class. It'll look good. Maybe you'll get out a little early or something. I ain't getting out early. And, but I said, I'll go to the class. We'll have some fun. There was a woman, a big fat-ass woman, who's the teacher. She comes in, starts the class at 12 o'clock. No, at 12 o'clock. It's lunchtime.
Right.
So the mess hall is open. So we go to eat. All right, we'll be back at 1. Okay. We go to eat. She runs her fat ass in there and grabs a tray. So she's eating for nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So 1 o'clock, we go back in. And we're in the class. She asks 10 questions. At 1:30, 1:45. All right, it's time to go. Tomorrow's lesson, fuck out of here. I didn't learn nothing.
Yeah.
I didn't learn. I don't even know what I'm sitting in there for. So what time are you going to be here tomorrow? Lunchtime? We'll see you lunchtime.
Yeah.
It was bullshit.
Las Vegas did a thing at the jails where they started actually teaching guys everything from, like, if you qualified, for the program, you have to qualify for them, but they taught them everything from like yoga, meditation, anger control type stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then also family skill sets, like how to cook healthy food, how to do this, how to do, stuff that a lot of these guys, and the goal was that listen, Vegas has no illusions, but the one thing I do like about it, they say this all the time, they go, hey, we learned a long time ago, we're not going to arrest our way out of this situation. We can arrest these people all they want, but it's not going to change anything. We have to do something within here to
prison reform.
Yeah, you got to do something.
Yeah, there's programs you could start, like you're saying, like that, to humanize them.
Exactly.
And then say, when you get out, why not teach a person how to be a fucking carpenter or an electrician or a plumber? They're going to make a good salary their whole life.
Yeah.
You want to teach some fucking dingbat like me to get a Harvard degree?
Yeah.
I couldn't graduate 8th grade. Now you want to send me to college? Come on, bro.
Yeah.
But maybe I could be a plumber or a carpenter or something,
skill set,
or a business guy, or open up a candy store or liquor store. But you shut all those doors in our face, and you're not doing anything for the people who are in there.
Yeah.
And some of the sentences are so ridiculous. I mean, it's crazy. Some of them are so excessive. My crime I faced, they talked to the judge once. The ecstasy case, they talked to the judge. They said, well, what do you think, the prosecutors and my lawyers, that he faces now if he took a plea? Anywhere between 5 and 7 years. The prosecutor walked away. No, we're not offering him a plea. They wouldn't do it. And when I did cop out, it was basically for a lot of different reasons. They were going to hang my son. They were going to do all kinds of weird shit. So I took a plea and took all the weight. And the guidelines, the low was 12, the high end was 15. They sentenced my son and everybody, my son-in-law and everybody in the case. And then they went for an upward departure. And I got 20. So they conned me into a 12 to 15,
Right.
and then went for an upward departure. And I got 20. But I guess there was nothing I could do, and that's life.
Yeah. Well, I like what you've done. I mean, you've come out, like, the one thing that I appreciate is that your spirit hasn't been broken. You're still out. You don't make any bones about your past. You know, you're very upfront about it. But you're sharing some good information. You know, and I appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me. This is a different departure from the type of interviews I normally do.
Right.
But I wanted to talk to you mainly because, you know, people look at protecting themselves in such a strange way. They see it in a very one-on-one kind of conflict. And you come from an organization that you guys were the alpha predators, and you understand what real violence is and how you use real violence.
Oh,
and it's not the way the common person thinks of it. You know?
No, it's not. It's not. And it's, you know, and this was a great conversation. I really appreciate I'm really comfortable. Now, I'm looking at your pockets. I'm going to see if you want to give me some money or this. I'm going to be a racketeer again.
We're going to get you in there. This is so great.
Listen, I really had a great time, and I appreciate it. And I'm trying to stay straight, do the right thing. I don't dictate to kids or people or anything like that. I try to be an example. You want to be me? Go to jail. Go ahead. You want to really be me? Look what the fuck I'm doing here, bro. I'm making money. You could stay out of prison, enjoy your life.
Right.
Don't give them all them years of your life in prison. No, you're not going to like it, bro. Get up in the morning, go eat, go to bed, go to sleep, go do this and go do that. You're not going to like it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things you can do in life. There's a lot of ways of making money. College isn't the biggest thing in the world.
No.
It's important for some kids, but the trade, so many different things you can do. And some of you guys that are young, before you get in trouble, you want to fight, you're a tough guy, go join the fucking Army,
Exactly.
Marines. Go be a soldier, be a patriot. Listen, when I get sick now, I'm a veteran.
Yeah.
I can go to the VA for no fucking money and go get taken care of. And I do go to the VA on occasion, and a lot of people complain. They take tremendous care of me.
That's great.
And I have a tremendous relationship with the people that I go. I hear these stories. Thank God I never bunk into that.
Yeah.
I bunk into real. Thank you for your service. Thank you for this. Thank you for that. And so there's a lot of benefits from the military. You can get VA loans to buy a house. You can get VA loans to go to school. There's a million things you could do. So if you're starting off life and you got a little balls and you're a little tough guy, go join the service. Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, go do it. And you'll be surprised. I did it for 2 years. I didn't want to go. I got drafted.
Right.
I didn't think I was going to last 2 minutes. I lasted 2 years. I got to love it. I got to get out of a car while we're driving, while they're playing taps, and stand there. And I never thought I would be doing it with my hand up, saluting and honoring dead veterans. I feel it when those 15 kids just got killed in Vietnam and Afghanistan and stuff like that. You saw them a week or two before grabbing kids, picking them up and taking them. Do something with your life. Show you're a real tough guy. Do that. It's a tough guy. My father never did a crime in his life, but he was a tough guy. He worked his ass off to take care of us, my sisters, kids, rest of the family, helped everybody. That's a tough guy. You don't have to be physically a tough guy. You don't have to be a killer. A killer is when we're on the bottom of the barrel. You do that, it happens, and you do it. When you go in the military, you don't even want to kill there, but you do it. There's the enemy. You're doing it for the government. I did it for Cosa Nostra. Cops do it. On occasion, they should, and we can't look at cops. There's a couple of bad cops. The guy who put his knee on the guy's neck, as soon as I saw that, he's dead. That kid this cop is finished. So there's a couple of bad apples in everything. We got Roy DeMeo. Everybody's got bad apples. But most of the people in all of these groups are good people. There's bad apples. But don't get one bad apple and smear everybody with it. You know, it
the
doesn't work
problem.
like that. It don't work like
Yeah,
that.
you just correct the problem and you
Right.
keep the organization going. Hey, well, Sammy, I really appreciate you taking the time, man. This has been great.
I appreciate
And
it too.
hope we can do it again.
Yes, I doubt it, but
Probably
we'll
not.
see. We'll see.
We'll see.
Okay, that concludes my interview with Sammy the Bull Gravano, former underboss of the Gambino family. You know, it really was. It was a class. It was just a master class in understanding human nature. You know, I know some of you are gonna think I allowed him probably to pontificate too much about other subjects, but that's the man. You know, and that's who I was interviewing, and I agreed to those conditions that we'd sit down and just have a conversation and see where it goes. And like I said, there was a lot of other great stuff that we got off camera that I'm hoping, you know, we're joking about, you know, doing this again. And I think we would do. I think we will do a follow up because there's some follow up questions that I'll have. I'm sure you probably have some follow up questions for somebody like Sammy the Bull. And again, I'm really interested in your feedback. So please make the comments and let us know. Now, listen, make sure, you know, continue to grow this channel. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Hit the notification bell and share it with your friends. And also, go to timlarkin.com. Give us your email. We will start you off in a masterclass that will help you build your self-defense strategy. It's really what's important is that you have a self-protection strategy. And again, there are limitations to what we can do here on YouTube. There are no limitations when you sign up for the masterclass. So until next time, stay safe.